The Italian Wine Podcast is the community-driven platform for Italian wine geeks around the world. Support the show by donating at italianwinepodcast.com. Donate €5 or more and we'll send you a copy of our latest book, My Italian Grape Geek Journal, absolutely free. To get your free copy of My Italian Grape Geek Journal, click Support Us at italianwinepodcast.com or wherever you get your pods. Grazie mille.
Welcome to this special Italian Wine Podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through italianwinepodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay,
right.
okay. All right, so I pressed the record.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you.
Who's recording? Are you at the office?
I'm at the office. I am recording.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
You see, I have I'm on my 4G now. Hopefully it'll last because I don't know. I was recording on the Zencaster and there were some problems. So you guys are killing me, you and Elena. Okay. All right.
Okay.
It's like the marathon today. Okay. So don't mind me, you guys. Hello, everybody. My name's Stevie Kim and welcome to the Ambassadors Corner. And today, our fireside chat is with Federico Graziani. As you know, it used to be called Italian Wine Club. Now it's called Italian Wine House. There's basically nobody except our Italian wine ambassadors. I think we need a shout out. We need to give a shout out to our Italian wine ambassadors. You got to push that clap button yes. Oh, special effects from Verona because I'm in Franciacorta today. It was crazy because as soon as I entered the room, there was this strong fan going. It was so noisy. I called the reception. They turned it off. And now they're mowing the lawn. And the Wi-Fi is bad. So we'll see what happens. Oh, Alice Wang just joined us. And we have Elena, Susanna, Julia, Valentina, Angie, Cynthia, Elena, and Alan Kwok from Hong Kong and Alice. Thank you so much, you guys, for manning that Vinitaly International Academy Hong Kong edition. Thank you so much. Now, on to our show. So, Ambassadors Corner, you know the deal. I think everybody knows by now. We replay the entire episode on Italian Wine Podcast on replay, and that's where we get lots of listens. It's actually very geeky, but people seem to really love this series. And today's host is Charlotte Ho. Ciao, Charlotte.
Ciao, Stevie.
Okay. Where are you now?
I'm in Hong Kong right now.
Okay, so you're with Alice and Alan. Charlotte is our Italian wine ambassador. Tell us a little bit about yourself to our audience.
So I am an Italian wine ambassador from VIA since last year. I did the course in Hong Kong last summer. Before that, I actually also did the Maestro course. Actually, it was during COVID when I couldn't travel to Italy that I started, systematically studying and learning about Italian grapes and wines. And apart from, volunteering in events and tastings in Hong Kong, I also started an Instagram dedicated to sharing my love and knowledge for Italian wines.
What is it called?
It's called Those Wine Moments. So some of you may already follow me. First of all, thanks, Stevie, for inviting me to co-host today's podcast. So those of you who know me or, drink with me will know that I'm a huge fan of Etna wines. In fact, this is my second Italian wine podcast. And the last episode I did was also an interview with another Etna producer. But yes, back to Federico. So to me, Federico Graziani's wines give me a sense of familiarity. Because it strikes a chord of harmony and resonance with my own personal experience falling in love with Etna as well as wines of Etna. To me, as a celebrated sommelier, Federico would have tried so many brilliant wines all over, right? But he fell in love with this magical place that he will be telling us more about. And even though he himself was not an Etna local, he still decided to take the leap, a leap of faith, and has decided to dedicate his life now to making wines on Etna. I mean, for those who have been lucky enough, like myself, to have met Federico in person, you will also understand what a gentle and humble person he is. His wines taste, of course, fantastic, but not only do his wines taste fantastic, but they also express, the Etna terroir, but they also tell you, in a way, the kind of person that is making the wine. A really lovely gentleman that today I have the great pleasure to interview. So finally, I think I just wanted to add that I actually visited Federico in Sicily about 2 months ago. And tasting wines in Federico's vineyards is beautiful because you will be sitting under, several ancient olive trees, including one that is over like 800 years.
So Charlotte, tell us a little bit about what the learning objectives for today's call with Federico.
Several things that I hope to get Federico to share with us today, apart from, introducing his wines and his vineyards. Obviously, we will talk a little bit about the native varieties on Etna that many of us in the audience should be familiar, such as Caricante, Nerello Mascalese, but also Alicante and Franchisi. So secondly, I would like to also explore Federico's choice, including certain maybe not so obvious international grape varieties in making an Etna white wine, and how these grape varieties perform in the volcanic terroir of Etna. And finally, just Federico's advice for anyone maybe considering a change in career to work in wine, or, anything that he could share with us from his own personal experience in taking a leap of faith to become a winemaker.
Fantastic. I'm very much looking forward to this if I can get my Wi-Fi straightened out. I feel like I'm in a third world country. Charlotte, you take over.
Sure.
Hopefully I can come back towards the end of the show. Okay.
No problem. Before I introduce Federico, maybe I can just also quickly mention that how I discovered Federico's wines, because I was trying out a lot of Etna wines in Hong Kong during COVID when I was stuck there. And the first thing that struck me when I tried Federico's wine was in fact the name of the wine, Profumo di Vulcano, and which he will talk about later. But literally that means the perfume of the volcano. And this name just right away sort of blew my mind, and it provoked such a mysterious sensation that for me is unforgettable. It just stuck with me. So the wine was so special that, as I've just mentioned, I have a wine Instagram. Actually, the first ever post that I've posted on my Instagram about Italian wines is a post on Profumo di Vulcano. So it does say a little bit about how special Federico's wines are to me.
There you go. Love at first sight.
Exactly.
How many Etna wines have you tried in your life?
Well, quite a lot. So I would probably need to count after the podcast and sort of let you know later.
Okay.
But it was
Already. Listen, we're going to do it again next year, so you need to come next year.
All right. So let me introduce Federico. Federico Graziani was just 15 years old when he decided to follow his passion and enroll in his first sommelier course back in 1990. His passion would soon become his vocation as he carved out a living in the world of wine. In 1998, he was awarded the best sommelier in Italy, an official recognition that offered him the opportunity to work alongside Gualtiero Marchesi, Stefano Cavallini, Bruno Loubet, Carlo Cracco, as well as Aimo and Nadia Moroni. So very impressive. Without further ado, let us welcome Federico Graziani. Ciao Federico, come stai?
Ciao Charlotte.
Ciao. How are you?
I'm very
really
well.
Nice to have you here. Okay. Yeah. So, I gave a very brief introduction about you just now, but maybe I should let you introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit more about your own story, how your life in wine started, how it evolved, and how it brought you to where you are now, making these beautiful wines on Mount Etna in Sicily.
Thank you. About this question, it would take a bit of time because it's a long story. As you said, I started for pleasure to do the first course of sommelier when I was 15. So and in the last 33 years, I would say, I've always been in the wine. If you take the wine of my life, it doesn't really last much. First course, second, third, I was studying hotellerie in the eastern side of Italy. I'm from Ravenna, so a small town on the Adriatic coast. So not an area where big wines are, not very famous for restaurants, but I had this passion for service and wine, and I became sommelier of important restaurants, as you said, like Gualtiero Marchesi was open-minded of my career. And then other important, I've been working in London for 3 years, so this was very important as a sommelier, so I could discover worldwide wines compared to Italy, where just these days we are starting to drink a lot of foreigner wines in France and Germany. So it was quite important for my palate to have the chance to work in London as well. And after I came back to Milan for the opening of Carlo Cracco, so it was quite important wine list. Was more than 2,200 labels.
Impressive! Yeah,
was a fantastic wine list. Was a dream sommelier dream wine list. And but when I stopped working for Carlo Cracco, I decided to start university with Attilio Scienza. So he was in Milan at the time. I was in Milan, so I decided to follow his course. And was so important for me because it's, Stevie know him very well. It's amazing for me how he can transmit all the knowledge. Yes, I had the chance during this period to write a little bit about wines. So from 2006 to 2000, and I would say 2012, I kept writing some books, mainly about Italian wines. But yes, in my past life. And I have to say, yes, in 2008, I was working in a restaurant. I was working as a sommelier at Aimo and Nadia in Milan. And I discovered a little vineyard that was going to be explanted after 1 month. And was at that time was my second time in Etna. So I decided to save this little vineyard. It was very small, was just half an hectare. But was very important for me because was a starting point in a fantastic, unique wine region. At that time, consider Etna was not as known as today.
No.
It's little. I mean, it's just 15 years ago, or a little bit more. But it's very important. How it developed, I would say more than 200 wineries are growing since then. So I was in the first 40, and now we're more than 250. So it's really exploding as a terroir. And I found some very unique things that we might discover in time during this chat.
Sure. Okay. Next, I will ask you to tell us a little bit more about the location of your vineyards, and that's something you already touched on just now. But apart from the more known northern slope of Etna, where I think a lot of these 200 wineries that are at least internationally known have their vineyards on, I know you also have vineyards on the western side of the volcano, which is less known to the international audience. Some of the vineyards are close to Bronte, which is most famous for pistachio, right? So
exactly.
Can you maybe tell us a bit more about these vineyards, and also in particular why you decided to work on vineyards also on the western slopes?
Actually, but maybe some of your guests don't. I don't live always in Sicily. Even if I do 100% today, I work just for my winery 100%. But I live close to Venice in Conegliano. So
Yes.
you can imagine how not easy is to have a winery 1,200 meters to 1,300 kilometers away from where you live. So it was very important at that time to focus on a very small area, even because the people working with me in the vineyard are all from Randazzo. And I couldn't afford actually to have a vineyard in the eastern side. It's too far away. It's just 40 kilometers. It's not much, but it takes more than 1 hour to get in the other side. So if you imagine, first of all, it's, you lose a lot of time to go from one side to the other. But the most important thing is these people working in my vineyard are crucial for the quality of my wine, because they always control the area. They know whatever is happening. I'm talking about climate-wise, and it's so important.
The locals know best.
It's very important for them to know everything, and. By climate, the northern slope of Etna and the eastern slope of Etna are very, very different. If you imagine the rainfall, it's about 1,100 millimeters per year in the northern slope, from 800 900, it depends. But in the eastern side, it goes up to 1,500 1,800. So it's one of the most rainy area in Sicily, but I would say in most of Italy. And as you can imagine, it's so important to be always on that side continuously. And that's why I try to focus on the northern slope, very close to Randazzo. So all the vineyards for the red are between Passo Pisciaro and Monte La Guardia. They are two very quite famous villages for red. And as you were mentioning before, the white vineyard, the white grape vineyard, it's inside the Bronte Common, so it's northern west. It's already after Randazzo, so it's considered west, northern west. So
it's outside the DOC, right? Well,
it's
not
outside
CG almost.
Because
yes.
the DOC in the northern slope it ends up 800 meters above the sea level, whilst the vineyard I bought it's nearly 1,200 meters over the sea level, so it's nearly 400 meters above the limit, and that's why it's outside the DOC. Because of this reason, because Bronte is not inside the DOC, you have just northern, east, and south as a DOC common inside the DOC. And the last, as you were mentioning, at that altitude, the Caricante, the native variety from Etna, don't ripe as well. So Salvo Foti before me and myself, he decided to plant some Northern European variety. I integrated them, and today I have a vineyard with 4 different varieties. Those are Renan Riesling, Chenin Blanc, Gewürztraminer, and Grecanico. That is the only native variety that is actually ripening at that altitude.
Okay, interesting. So maybe without further ado, let's talk about your white wine, since we were talking about the vineyards where the white varieties are grown. So for the audience, Federico's signature white wine is Mare Neve. And Mare Neve is probably the most interesting white wine from Etna that I have tasted so far. It is a white blend. So as Federico mentioned, not just Caricante, but also there is Grecanico, but there is also international varieties such as Riesling, Gewürztraminer, and Chenin Blanc. So can you tell us a little bit more about your Mare Neve, how you decided on this blend?
Actually, Mare Neve was born in my mind by driving with Salvo Foti from northern to eastern slope of the Etna. We were taking this road called Mare Neve, and I asked Salvo, let's It's a fantastic name. Who's calling Mareneve is wine? He said, I don't know. I don't think anybody else. And he said, okay, you'll do it. You keep it, this name. And this was like 2010, I think. I didn't have 2011 maybe. I didn't have in mind to produce white wine, but I registered the name because I thought it was a fantastic name for a white wine.
It's beautiful, yes.
So it's an existing name. It's not something I invented.
Yeah.
Repropose it, and I think it's very important because it's a road that goes from the eastern side. So it starts in Milo, and it goes that is very close to the sea, and it looks at the sea, and it goes up to the refugee where you have the ski lift for skiing, because you can ski on Etna.
From the sea to the snow.
Yeah, exactly. It goes up to 2,200 meters above the sea level, this refugee called Piano Provenzana. And then it goes down to the northern slope because the Via Mareneve, it ends up in Lingua Glossa, that is connecting actually the two slope of the Etna, where I produce sort of this wine. So it's quite,
Italian Wine Podcast, brought to you by Mama Jumbo Shrimp.
After 2017, I decided to add the Caricante. So the Caricante doesn't ripe at that altitude in Bronte. So I decided to rent a little vineyard by Salvofoti on the eastern side. So actually from Milo. And we have this wine that is connecting the two slopes like the Mareneve, Via Mareneve does. And it's, I think it's quite cheap wine. I have to say, compared to even my red wines, I think today Etna is growing very well, growing very fast. We have the wines are better than 15 years ago for sure. So it's easy for me to recommend 10, 15, 20 other very good Etna producers that make very good Etna red, as I do, but it's more difficult to try to find a substitute to Mareneve because it's so unique in blend, and I think is one of his point of power is you cannot replace it. If you like it, you have to come back to Mareneve.
Yes, exactly. So for the latest vintage that has been released, what are the percentages of the various grapes? Like
after the first vintage in which the Caricante was not there, I decided to add the Caricante to make it a bit less aromatic and a bit more related to Etna. And I have to say, so 16 was my first vintage. And since 17, I would say the blend is more or less very similar. And I would say it's about 30% of Caricante, 25% of Gewürztraminer and Renan Riesling, another 25%, 15% of Chenin Blanc, and 5% of Grecanico. And Grecanico actually is, just a few plants on the borders of the vineyard. The idea was to try to produce a wine very, very thin, very delicate. And so still in vinification, I try to do as less as possible, try to keep it as thin as possible, very drinkable.
All right. So regarding the Gewürztraminer, it's quite an unusual grape that you would expect from an Etna white wine. Was it correct that there was already some Gewürztraminer in the vineyards, or did you decide to plant it there?
Actually, I found Riesling and Gewürztraminer.
You found them there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Salvofoti. I'm working with Salvofoti in the vineyard. We have the same guys working in the vineyard. So I think it's very important for me to have his help because living so far away, apart from the fact that I'm far away from them, but that they are really the best people to work in the vineyard. I met in many areas in Italy. So it's very important for me to work with them because they're very capable of intending the albarello. I just work with the albarello system.
It's very labor intensive. And
so yes, as I was before, at that altitude, you had very little choices because the normal variety, they don't ripe at that altitude. So he looked for Northern European variety. I integrated it with Chenin because I think it's one of my favorite variety as well, and added some complexity with the Caricante at the end. I think today we have this blend that is quite unique. Gewurz gives a little bit of course, of
on the nose already, immediately.
Yeah. Riesling brings some minerality. I have to say, it's a sort of as a taste. The single vines they taste a little bit like in the Loire Valley. Think of the Sauvignon from Sancerre and Puy-Fumé. They are not as aromatic as other Sauvignon, and I think this is happening a little bit in the volcanic soil as well.
Yes, I was going to ask you about how the volcanic soil influence.
It's like that Riesling and especially the Riesling, the Gewürztraminer, but also the Riesling, they are quite humbled by the volcanic soil. They are not as blowing in aroma as they should be or as they are in other non-volcanic soil. And I think this is very important for the palate. And I try to help to keep this aroma very low by, for example, by harvesting the Gewürztraminer about 1 week before. I don't like very aromatic wines. This should be quite clear at this point. But at the same time, I think the Gewürztraminer is very important in the blend of Maroneve because it gives some nuance of rose, lychee, white peach. And the idea is to keep it very, very white. And not to leave the Gewürztraminer going too alcoholic because the Gewürztraminer tend to get a lot of sugar. And I don't like very alcoholic wines. And by the other side, I think it's very important not to have a tropical fruit because it's maybe more powerful but less elegant. And I to look for elegance in wines.
No, and if anything, the Maroneve is very elegant. It is nothing that is heavy at all. So I think I definitely agree with what you've done there. Just a quick, I note that there's a question from the audience. Luis asked about whether there is a varietal labeled Chenin Blanc or 100%. So I guess we've kind of answered it already. It was the Maroneve is a blend. Yeah, it's not 100% varietal.
I tasted the Gewürztraminer by itself because I harvest before the other variety. The other three variety, they are vinified together. So I wouldn't know today. I don't have enough quantity to make a small vinification by itself. So I actually don't know how it tastes a single Chenin on ethanol. Okay. But maybe in the future, who knows?
Who knows? Okay, maybe let's move on to your red wines. I mean, I talked about the Profumo di Vulcano in my intro.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could tell us your story about this wine?
Yes, as I was starting to say, I was a happy sommelier, just got my degree at university in winemaking and viticulture. Just going for 2006, went to Sicily because I tasted some wines from Tenuta Terre Nere. And I was like, this is not the Sicily I know. Let's go and have a look. As I did many times in many wine regions, I did it, I would say, all my life in probably in 3-4 continents, and I mean that was part of my duty, to go and visit the producer and taste wines and stuff like that. And so I decided to go. in 2006 for the first time, and I discovered a unique terroir. I met fantastic people like Andrea Franchetti, like Marco De Grazia from Tenute Terre Nere,
Yes.
and Salvo Foti. With Salvo Foti was like a friendship started like I was more in line with many things. So I decided, I didn't decide, just we kept on our friendship, and we started to talk more often than the other producer. And so was 2008 when I decided to, actually I was doing an itinerary on Italy because I was doing a book. The book is called Vini d'autore, and I was like interviewing many people. So I started from Milan, and I went down, and I went to Soldera, to Maria Cuomo, to Giuseppe Benanti, Salvo Foti. There was like, sort of a trip during vacation where I was doing interview to all these people. And Salvo Foti offered me to stay for a few days in his little house inside the Passo Pisciaro area, where he produced the Vino Petra. And so I decided, yes, thanks. So I stayed there for a few days. I was keep writing, so finishing my book. And the day I was like giving the key back to him, we were having a granita in the Passo Pisciaro. There is one single bar in Passo Pisciaro, so it's a very small village. You can imagine how small, a few hundred people only. And this actually was very important because the day I was giving the key back to him, the butcher of Passo Pisciaro came in and asked him a suggestion and help about explanting a small vineyard, old small vineyard next to his. And so I said, Salvo, please, let's go and have a look, because I had a fantastic feeling about old vines. I love old vines, and it was like, let's go and have a look. And so that's how I started. I asked Salvo to help me to save this little vineyard. Actually, it remained like a sort of hobby for me for a few years. A quite expensive hobby, but an hobby. And,
An expensive perfume.
So yes, that's how it started.
So that little vineyard that you talked about from the beginning is the vineyard that's producing the grapes for the wine of Profumo di Vulcano.
Exactly.
Okay.
I have to say, for about 6 years, Profumo di Vulcano always been from that single vineyard. In 2017, I bought another half an hectare, still 100 years old vineyard. As an average, you have average vineyard, you don't have a single age of vineyard. And so today I have 2 plots of about half an hectare each. And so since 2019, I have sort of doubled my Profumo di Vulcano bottles from 1,400 to 3,000. Big numbers.
Yeah, and I'm very, very lucky to be able to taste them all the way across the world in Hong Kong here. Well, in the Profumo, you have other native varieties. I guess, any wines from these old vineyards, it will be sort of a mix of, some of these native varieties alongside the Nerol Mascalese and Cappuccio. And I'm aware there are Alicante and Franchisi. So most of us in the audience, will be familiar with Nerol Mascalese and Cappuccio, but perhaps Alicante on Etna, but also Franchisi is something that we would be less familiar. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about how these, I know they aren't in great sort of quantities in the wine, but how would these other grapes contribute to the result wine?
Actually, yes, this is a good question. We know today Etna Rosso is made 80%, at least 80% Nerello Mascalese, and the rest is Nerello Cappuccio. So those 2 varieties, they play the game. But if you have a whole vineyard, the period in which we decided to have just Nerello Mascalese is just from Second World War. So actually, even after, it was like from the 60s when the DOC Etna decided to have just Nerello Mascalese and Cappuccio. So in the old vineyard, it's a mess. As you say, we have an Alicante and we have a Francesi, but also we have in the Profumo di Vulcano vineyard at least 50 plants of white grapes.
Ah.
So there are there. It's a garden. You don't take them off. It's like most of them are Prephyloxera. So they have been together. They have been together all their lives, and for me, it makes sense to take them together. Of course, there are differences between old vineyard and new vineyard because, as you can imagine, by a vinification point of view, it's much easier to work with one variety or one variety like Nerello Cappuccio, but mainly Mascalese, than to work with 10 different varieties together because you cannot make a different vinification because all the plants are co-planted. It's not like there are sections of each variety. So you have I found a plant of Muscat a few years ago inside Profumo di Vulcano vineyard. So it's not easy. It's not easy, but we can analyze it and say what Alicante is bringing to the wine, what Francesi is bringing. And first of all, we go to see Nerello Mascalese. We know today, Attilio Scienza made a lot of DNA investigation about that, that Nerello Mascalese is a son of Sangiovese.
Sangiovese, yes.
Yes, and today we know as well that Nerello Cappuccio is a twin of another quite important variety called Carignano. So if we go back to Alicante, we know Alicante is the same variety as Grenache, so it's a Grenache. So it will be easier with this relationship, genetic relationship, to understand more what they bring to the wine. And Francesi, actually, it's something a little bit undiscovered, so we don't know exactly what it is. In terms of taste, it reminds me a little bit of Cabernet Franc, but I don't think there is a genetic relationship.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, what this small variety brings to the wine, I would say Nerello Cappuccio brings a little bit of color and a little bit of spice. The Alicante, the Grenache brings this a bit wider aroma, quite Mediterranean, I would say, like herbal, oregano, majoran, olive paste, this kind of character. And Francesi, a little bit of green, a little bit of aromatic side. White grape brings what they have, a bit of acidity. So it's, yes, it's not easy. It's not easy.
Well, beautiful. And actually, I recall reading somewhere that you described, I think on your website, that you described the Profumo as mixed blood of Etna. And from what you've just said, I think, a very vivid visual description. So, many of us will agree that Etna soul, the volcanic soul, is something that honest and authentic Etna wines would express. So what about the volcano do you hope to express in your wines, and how do the volcanic souls contribute in expressing this?
I think we don't have to forget, first of all, that the volcano, is a big, big mountain. And so connected to the volcano, but not as a volcanic soil, we have the altitude that is related to the volcano.
Yes.
So it's very important because it's not... in Etna we have terraces because we don't have any consistency of the soil. So if you want to keep the sand, you have to make terraces. You cannot have other way of keeping the sand inside in a small space. So this makes another difference in the soil, what brings to the wine, because the soil is always very draining, so never water retain. Of course, the volcano seems to bring some smoky related to sulfur aroma. And if you think of a regular Etna Rosso, for example, and you think of a very traditional Chianti, I think one minus the other, you can have the feeling of what the volcanic soil gives. Yes, a sort of minerality and stone aroma, something related to sulfur, as I said, that is quite important.
Yes.
And I think it comes in the wine, especially during the aging. So this is a sort of incense aroma, smoked tea. They are all coming stronger and stronger after 2, 3, 4 years of aging. But yes, that I would say is the character of the volcano coming out. Of course, in the Profumo di Vulcano, we have a bigger amount of aroma coming out because of the, as you said, the mixed blood, the biodiversity inside the vineyard gives this more complexity. But is a complexity that is a little bit hard to handle because it's, as I said, you have to play with 10 different varieties at the same time.
Yeah, it's very elegant, but it's still wild. That's how I taste it. Well, we've talked about old vines and, tradition and a lot of that, but while staying true to tradition and authenticity, I also know that, Federico, you are very much into novelty as well. Can you tell us a little bit more and share with the audience about your new glass bottles and also unique identification for each bottle that you've been working on recently?
I think, yes, I would do with pleasure. It's working with Salvo Foti means being part of this I Vinieri. It's a sort of consortium, so it's a cooperation in which we used to have a single bottle for all of us.
Yeah.
But, I felt like in this period, since 3-4 years that I'm working by myself and I do just this, I have to find a little bit more of identity of my winery. So I decided to keep working with them. It's very important for me, and I would always thank Salvo for what is helping me in doing what I'm doing. But I think I need more identity. So I wanted to have a bottle with my name, but I don't like really much when you have the logo in front of you. So I decided to put on the bottom of the bottle. So you just recognize it and discover it when you put your bottle in the cellar. So I think...
And it's lying horizontally, right? And you can see the bottom.
And I have to say it's also less expensive than to your complete bottle. I have to be honest with you. But I like the idea to have it something not shout, something not scream, and just you say you recognize it just when you lay your bottle down. Something nice. I decided 1 year ago to add a small microchip to every single bottle. So actually, under the label, you can find from the vintage 2021. Actually, I decided, as nearly most of the Burgundy producer, to go on the market with all my wines after 2 years from harvest. So I went out on the market a couple of months ago with the 2021 vintage, and all the 2021 vintage today has this little microchip under the front label, where you can just with the NFC reader, so any phone, any device, you can read the single bottle of the number of the bottle you are drinking, and you have the possibility of having your certificate of origin, of authenticity of the wine. And it's important for me because actually I don't see where the bottle is
going.
is linked, but I see, for example, in the area. So if I sell some bottles in Sicily and I found it in Hong Kong, now I can recognize that somebody maybe sold the bottle where, and it's important for me at this point to protect the market, and at the same time to give the chance to all my clients to be sure about the bottles, because in fine wines that the number of bottles, the fake bottles are very, very high numbers. I don't know if it's something around 20%.
Wow.
I think they would copy my wine, obviously. But at the same time, I think it's important to start early, because if in 10 years I will get a little bit more famous, maybe somebody will start thinking of it, and protecting yourself when you're small and young, it's better.
Okay, speaking about novelty, any exciting new projects in the making? What should we expect from you next?
We have a lot of things coming, I have to say.
I'm excited to hear it, so share with us.
We didn't talk in this chat about one of the wine I started producing in 2018. For the first time, I didn't produce Profumo di Vulcano because it was a too rainy vintage. So I decided to produce
18, right?
to declass the Profumo di Vulcano to a different wine. I didn't want to put all the very old vineyard in the Etna Rosso, so I vinified in still, and it came out a wine that I call Rosso di Mezzo. That is really surprised me, because you have the complexity of a very old vineyard and the Prephyloxera wildness and all this variety together, but you have the purity of the still, because usually Profumo di Vulcano is aged in Tonneau. In this case, I thought that the wine wouldn't have spend all the oak, so I decided to keep it in. But it was so fresh, so elegant, so drinkable, and it's very, very important for me, for my style, to have this wine in terms of elegance. And I decided to replant, to produce again this wine that was made just in 1 year, so special. I decided to plant an ungrafted vineyard. Following year, I had to keep on the market, so I used for Rosso di Mezzo the oldest part, but not 100 years old, of the vineyard I have in Passo Pisciaro, and have stolen a Tonneau from Profumo di Vulcano to do a wine. Very little number of bottles, just to keep, the label going on. And this was supposed to be the first vintage of the ungrafted vineyard I planted. That comes from the Profumo di Vulcano, of course. It's just pieces of vineyard taken from that vineyard, from the very old vineyard, and putting on the ground without ungrafted.
Ungrafted. Okay, that's very interesting.
What's happening now, because Rosso di Mezzo today it's a wine, and it's probably one of my favorite wine as well. So I'm not sure if the ungrafted would be back to this wine, or will be a new wine.
We will see. And in fact, actually, one of my friends in the audience, also another ambassador, Susanna, she brought a bottle of Rosso di Mezzo, the 2018, to one of the dinners that we had in Hong Kong. Alan was there as well. Bella was there as well. They're also here in the audience now. But it was a beautiful wine. So I'm really excited to see what the engrafted vine can produce.
And doing some experiment with Riesling as well.
Yes. I tried that, so maybe tell the audience a little bit about it.
In 2019, I vinified a small part of the Riesling by itself, just to see. I had something in my mind, but actually I didn't have the instrument to do it. So I wanted to vinify Riesling in a sort of Mosel style. So on a sort of Spätlese, light in alcohol with small sugar. But actually, I had to find out that I didn't have the instrument to keep it to the fermentation. And so the wine went dry, and I had to put in a tonneau because I didn't have anything safe to put the wine inside for a small quantity. So actually, it's not the wine I had in my mind, but the wine is great. It was just 300 bottles and 180 magnums, so it was just a trial. But just to give you the idea, this year I planted another 4,000 plants of Riesling. So it's something will happen, and probably in a bit bigger numbers than Argento 47, AG47, the name of the experiment vineyard.
And that's dedicated to your wife, right?
It's a bit. My wife is called Anna Graziani, and 47 was my age. At the same time, Argento, because in my mind would have been something so light and transparent. And so in the future will be Argento 47 and Anna Graziani 47, who knows. Anyway, the wine hopefully will be good.
Well, we should all be looking forward to it, and stay tuned, everyone. So I'm aware of the time, and I was told that, there are only a few minutes left, so perhaps I will pass back to Stevie to conclude.
Yes, I just can answer a question I can read about exporting the US. I'm working in New York, New Jersey with the Soil Air, and I'm working with a very small importer in Virginia called Williams Corner, and I'm starting in January with California, the source, the wine source.
Okay, well, thank you. That was so thorough. You even took care of the questions. I love it. Charlotte, thank you so much for hosting this. I hope you can hear me okay. I still have poor connection signals, so just in case I drop off, maybe Laika can take over. Laika, tell us what's going on next.
What's going on is tomorrow is going to be with Barbara. She will be interviewing Massimiliano Apollonio. So yeah, that's it tomorrow at 5:30 p.m.
Okay, I just want everyone to know that, the offices will be closed for 2 weeks, but thanks to Laika and the team in Verona and in Ecuador, in Philippines, everyone still be guaranteed a pod every single day. I think that deserves a round of applause, Laika. Yay! Okay, Charlotte, as you are so exceptional, I love your hosting this. You're a great ma. Thank you for doing this today. Federico, thank you for joining us today with your great conversation. And I hope to see you very soon here or there. And that's it. I'm going to wrap it up and signing off till tomorrow then.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Stevie.
Okay, ciao ragazzi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Swirl, sniff, sip, spit. Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.